On this week of the podcast, we are going back to the week of September 15th, 1998.
That's right, Gary. That's whenever Hootie and the Blowfish released musical chairs, and Hirokazu Kore-eda released Afterlife.
Like the past, the movie never changes. It can't change, but every time you see it, it seems different because you were different. You see different things.
Hey, welcome to my so-called podcast. I am Gary Linton.
And I'm Eric Spiegel.
That's right, you are Eric Spiegel.
Allegedly.
No, I can vouch.
Allegedly.
I'm vouching. So,
I'm moving my table. Could you hear that on the recording? I was moving my table.
We were able to hear that, so that's good.
So the microphone sort of base levels are checking out. I'm just trying to get to a position where I can kind of slouch, actually, but the microphone's closer to me. So that's a little how the sausage is made for the what is it? MSP? Is that it?
Yes, my so-called
MSCP. Yes. The MSCP faithful,
That's
know?
right. And most people
sometimes Eric likes to slouch, but he's a professional, so he pushes the microphone closer to his face.
Make sure the microphone's up in his face. So you're probably thinking, oh yeah, this is my favorite podcast where they talk about how the sausage is made. But no, this is a podcast where we go back to a week in the 90s. We talk about a movie and an album that were released roughly the same week. This week we are looking at Hootie and the Blowfish musical chairs, released September 15th, 1998 in America, and up in Toronto this week on September 11th, 1990.
I mean, that's still North America.
That's true. The movie Afterlife was playing by, and it was from director Hirokazu Kore-eda.
Sorry, I said Kore-eda. We did do a little bit of research on how to say his last name, and this is our best. This is our best, guys.
Yeah. So if we are mispronouncing that, please be aware. We're ignorant. We're not trying to be. We're not being like, oh, Kamala Harris or Kamala Harris. We're not being like trying to
Barack Hussein Obama
purposely mispronounce people's names. We're just
right.
Yes,
we're not doing that.
No, so bear with us.
This is a deficiency on our part. That's what it is.
Yes, exactly. And thanks for listening to our podcast.
So that's interesting, Gary, that the old TIFF was involved, because I'm not sure I was aware of this being released at the time. So I guess, it could have been a film festival only thing in North America. Who knows?
Yeah, that's right. And so we'll talk about Afterlife in the second half of the podcast. First half, we'll be talking about Musical Chairs, the third album by Hootie and the Blowfish.
That's right.
Yep.
So 98, man, we're getting to the end of the 90s. September 98. This is, I've been together with my girlfriend for almost a year, so it's the glory days of youthful romance.
Oh, yeah. I the glory days. I believe Bruce Springsteen wrote a song about that called The Streets of Philadelphia.
That's where he talked about that. Is that the one where he's talking about that speedball?
That's right.
You could throw that speedball by on the streets of Philadelphia.
Right. I think he also mentions isn't Thunder Road one of the streets of Philadelphia?
I don't think so, but I know that he was born to run on it.
Oh, okay, right. That's right.
Goodness. My hometown. So what? Where? How are we here?
Well, yeah. So 1998, you were with your then girl, your ex-girlfriend.
My ex-girlfriend, friend of the show, Alicia Spiegel.
That's right.
This is my ex, Alicia Zacher.
Yes. And I was what was that? In '98, I was living back in St. Louis. I was in Springfield for a while, but I was going to school back in St. Louis now in '98.
Yep. So who were you dating then?
I don't think I was dating anybody. There was this girl, her name was Molly, that I met at Webster, but I think I kind of freaked her out, and I didn't really let her know. I didn't ask her out at all, and then I just kind of was semi-stalking her, I realized when I look back, and I was like, oh man, what was my problem?
Boy, this conversation really took a turn. So, wait, you were freaking her out by not telling her you liked her?
Yeah, right. It's just like showing up where she was sometimes and be like, oh, hey, Molly, how's it going? She's like, oh. Hey, Gary.
Oh, so like in retrospect, you should have asked if you could call her sometime.
Yeah, that's right. I was really kind of, I don't know what I was doing. I was awkward and wrong,
You need to, Dan Savage says you need to give the person an easy out.
That's true. Yep, that's what I needed to do.
So that's what you need to do. Like, I'd like to hang out with you, but I totally get it. Like, not everybody's for everybody. So just let me know,
Well, right. I would start with,
it's all good.
Look, I am not going to harm you in any way.
Unfortunately, that might be necessary sometimes these days. I don't know.
Exactly, I think so. And so
uncomfortable dating world, it seems to me like. But I mean, obviously, it seems uncomfortable. I haven't done it for since 1998.
That's right.
1987. So I don't know what we're talking about now. But anyway, that's what was going on for me. I mean, I definitely went to the movies a lot at this time and saw whatever I felt like wanting to go see because it was like my girlfriend liked to watch movies. I like to watch movies. What's not? You don't have children.
It was a match made in heaven.
What are you not? Yeah, what are you gonna not go to the movies all the time?
That's right.
You totally go to movies all the time. So that's what I remember. Even though we didn't have tons of cashola at the time, you go to the dollar show, you get it done.
That's right. So okay, that's what was going on with us. What Eric and I like to do is we like to ask each other questions that's kind of set the mood for 1998, and we answer it, we keep score. Right now we play to 21. Eric,
we don't. I want to be clear. We're not going to stalk anybody that listens to this podcast.
No, and everybody is okay to turn it off. Feel free.
I mean, you got to look back on your mistakes and learn from them.
Well,
right?
exactly. Yeah, I look back, and if it's
Didn't your sister teach you better than that?
No, they did not. They were both gone at that time. So
yeah, you needed some sister advice there. I think is what was going on.
So the score is 19-15. Me in our trivia game.
Okay, back to trivia. Yeah.
We played a 21.
This is you're gonna have to really suck. I think we usually played at 20, dude.
Oh, okay.
So it's getting pretty close to steaks. I don't know. I still owe Gary at least one steak sandwich or something.
I think I owe you one though too. I think so. We really do need to find some time for you and I to go get something to eat. So
yeah, go get some steaks that can be, I don't know, maybe they're like expensive and we buy each other's.
Yep.
That'd be funny if like it was like some guys made a deal to buy each other's dinner and then they just kept ordering till like because they secretly hated each other.
Yeah,
like,
right.
Running up the bill.
But then it's like
they're kind of doing it to themselves too.
That's right. Yeah, and they're both enjoying what they're eating, and it ends up being like the same price. And so it's kind of like, well, I was trying to. I showed him, but I had a great time.
This is really one of the best nights of my life. I think I love you.
That's the only way it can end. So
it's a meet cute.
Yep. Eric, I will ask you first since you are at 15.
That sounds good. We need to kick up some drama. You should probably ask me like 2 in a row because otherwise it's going to be a foregone conclusion here.
Okay. Well, we can try that.
I mean, you don't have to. I'm just having a pity party. Go ahead. Ask me number one.
What Oliver Stone movie did Dylan Klebold write about in fellow Columbine shooter Eric Harris's yearbook?
The one about the killers, naturally born killers, probably.
That's it.
I mean, it'd be hilarious if it was like Salvador.
Yeah.
They really liked Nixon.
That's right.
Everybody's favorite Oliver Stone movie.
Born on the 4th of July.
Born on the 4th of July. Well, Born on the 4th of July might make you some kind of a activist, at least.
That's true.
I could see that movie making somebody angry. Of course, Wrong Turn. Isn't that what that was called? Or U-Turn?
U-Turn.
That made me angry because it was bad.
It was bad.
Yeah. But anyway, that's interesting. I think it just shows how much Oliver Stone kind of missed the mark with that movie, because I could see what he was trying to do, but I think he fell into the trap of making the killers too compelling.
Well, I was just thinking about that. That's interesting you say that, and I don't think we've talked about Fight Club yet on the podcast, but that's that was a problem with Fight Club too. Is Tyler Durden, I don't think is supposed to be all that. Isn't supposed to be somebody you look up to, but you do. You're like, because Brad Pitt is somebody you look up to.
Oh, that's a good point. Although I do think that at the end, the film is clear that he's been. If you're paying attention, it's very clear that he has been very convincing and charismatic.
Well, right.
He's wrong.
He's right.
I don't know. But you're right. I'm definitely, lots of people do not get that message.
That it's like, no, he's wrong, and you shouldn't be. But they still are like, yeah, he's so.
But some, I guess, that's really, it's tough to tell the story that I feel like Fight Club is telling, which is that sometimes the wrong answer is very attractive and sexy, right?
Yeah.
I think that's what they're trying to get at a little bit. He's self-destruction, made flesh, essentially.
Yeah.
I don't know. I think Fight Club's great. I might be a little insufferable listening to this conversation. So,
right.
I don't know. It would be kind of dicey.
That's why we haven't talked about Fight Club yet.
Right. It's your and my phobia of, the unleashing the very irritating and not entertaining Eric that we all try to avoid as much as possible. Do you want me to ask you a question, I guess?
Yeah, I guess. Yeah, we can do that.
How do you feel about what language spoken by furry toys since 1998 translates "I love you" into "Kamemeune nai" something?
What language spoken by furry toys? Spoken since when?
1998, my friend. The year that we're existing in right now.
Right, yeah, okay. I guess, I don't know, Furbies or Fur...
I'm gonna give that to you.
It's from the Furby.
It's Furbish.
Oh, Furbish.
So you said Furbies. I'm going to go ahead and give that to you. You do win.
Okay.
But let's go ahead and see, what the final score is by finishing this out. It's like, just pretend like it's a football game that's like 28-0 and there's 2 minutes to go.
Right.
This is what's happening now.
Okay. No, I'm going to go with who was the butt of 1,712 late-night TV jokes in 1998, according to the Center for Media and Public Affairs?
That's going to have to be our friend Monica Lewinsky.
Oh, very close, but go with,
Bill Clinton.
Yeah, it was Bill Clinton.
Oh, okay, so I didn't get it. Boy, that was a real build me up, buttercup, let me down.
Yes.
Mess me around. And worst of all, you never call Gary when you say hello.
Exactly.
Here we go.
What movie ended
What
with
American League Baseball? There's Something About Mary.
That's
also from 1998.
Yeah, okay. Go on.
Well, why do I have all this in my brain? How about this one? What American League Baseball team signed up Cynthia Sayer to be their official banjoist?
Oh, American League Baseball team and has a banjoist. I guess I'm gonna go with the Texas Rangers.
That's what I would have gone with. It's the Yankees for some reason.
Oh, yeah.
But I don't know. That's cool.
That's right. All right. We'll keep it in the realm of sports for your final question here, Eric. What best-selling author was forced by his wife's divorce lawyers to abandon an attempt to buy the Minnesota Vikings? This was a best-selling author was attempting to buy the Minnesota Vikings, but he had to not do that because his wife's divorce lawyer.
Okay, I'm gonna guess John Grisham.
Tom
Clancy.
It was Tom Clancy, yeah.
Oh, man. That was, yeah. I mean, I should have. If I'd had multiple choice, I think I would have done better. But
Well, right. I mean, you had three. I guess there were three authors who were like had enough money to maybe buy a football team back in 1998.
Right, exactly.
Creighton,
what?
Grisham, and Clancy. Go on.
Oh, it's okay. What tireless master of the one-liner lived for 5 years after an AP website posted his obituary?
Bob Hope?
That's correct.
Okay.
You win all the marbles. You win another steak right through my heart. Gary.
I'm going to give you, I'm going to go ahead and give you that, you said John Grisham, but then you came up with Tom Clancy right away. So you get that. Eric, you get that one. So it ends with 21-17 as the final score.
Good. That's good. 21-17. That's definitely pride points there for me.
Yeah.
Because I'm an ally, so I need pride points.
Oh, right, exactly. And because if you get enough, you're going to be able to redeem them for like a flag.
Well, so let's say I aspire to be an ally. Okay, I don't get to decide if I am.
That's true. Yeah, you don't get to make that call.
You gotta learn all these. I have to learn all these rules. It's good.
That's right.
It's good.
Okay, so I hope everybody is like, oh yes, 1998. I remember Tom Clancy and Bill Clinton.
Yeah, remember when Tom Clancy and Bill Clinton got together and they played banjo with the New York Yankees.
That's right.
And they bought, and that was the game where you got a Furby, a commemorative Furby for coming in.
That's right. So you're like, yes, 1998. So that's gonna set the stage for us to talk about Hootie and the Blowfish musical chairs. But even before we get going in on that, here's the songs that were shooting up the charts the same week that Hootie released their third album, Hootie and the Blowfish.
And you would not say, hey, I can't find nothing on the radio, because you could find these songs, right?
That's right. So number 10 that week was Looking at Me with Maze featuring Puff Daddy. I don't know if I remember that one. I'm sure I do, but the title.
It's off the Maze album.
CDTV's really what I know ya. Now me and Blink float in the Gold Rover. So it's only right you get the cold shoulder. And if you got a girl, don't be real committed.
I'm gonna say it sounds like an album cut or something to me.
Yeah, it wasn't as big of a hit as
music.
The other ones. But number 9 is Never Ever by All Saints.
Oh, it's like Never Ever Gonna
All Saints
Never
was
Ever Gonna
British girl band,
now.
right?
Yeah, I think it was they were trying to be another Spice.
Yeah.
A few questions that I need to know. How you could ever hurt me so.
I always felt like that song, the way it begins, is like they had to let like a third grader write the lyrics to the song. Yeah. It's like the shortest words and shortest sentences and simplest thoughts.
That's right.
It's, I don't know, it's nearly hard for me to listen to. It's a little embarrassing.
Right.
But anyway, great. All Saints. What was next?
Number 8 was Sarah McLachlan with her Adia/Angel song.
Yeah, so that would be Adia.
That's what I thought, but then when I was reading it, it was like, is that how you pronounce that? Adia, yeah.
Well, that's how she pronounces it in the song Adia, so I feel like that's right. But yeah, so that's confusing. It happens sometimes on these top 10s where it looks like Adia was a hit single, but Angel was the B-side, which I think actually ended up being a much bigger hit. So that's very confusing. So we don't really know at this point which one is represented here, but but I think Angel probably ends up being the one that she's going to be like remembered for, maybe not Possession.
Yeah. Number 7 was Shania Twain's "You're Still the One."
Yeah, that was a super massive black hole of a hit, right?
Yeah, it was. And then
did you like that? Speaking of Maze, isn't that band? Muse.
Yeah.
Super massive black hole by Muse. Go ahead. Sorry.
All right. Number 6 was "Daydreamin'" by Tatiana Ali.
Is she the one that's on Black Mirror?
No, that's Tatiana Maslany, who is She-Hulk.
Oh, yeah, she's the Black Orphan though too.
Yeah, that's right.
Hang on, Tatiana. Okay, that goes like this.
She is off of.
I know this one.
Fresh Prince. She's Ashley.
Oh, that's fun. I'm enjoying this.
Sure. And that song is representative of some other songs that were on the top 10 singles, because number 5, That Boy Is Mine by Brandy and Monica.
That was a song that I sort of knew was huge, but I also was in a position to never hear it.
The boy is mine, the boy is mine, the boy is mine, the boy is mine, the boy is mine.
This is this harp thing that's in like every song in 1998.
Yeah. The video was
like this one producer
deal.
had this one thing he did with a harp.
Just in everything. I felt like you could
every song. Every song, and the video had to be directed by McG, no matter what it was.
Well, I don't think that was, but the video was definitely very popular. That anytime I was turning it on MTV, it was almost, I felt like I was catching the end of That Boy Is Mine. So
yeah, I mean, I agree with you, and I think that's how I knew that it was huge. Because if I turned it on and it was the beginning, I would turn the channel because it's just not my thing.
Right. Number 4 that week, you know, keeping it smooth R&B is My Way by Usher.
Yeah. How does My Way go? Can you sing that for us?
Oh, I did it.
Is it the Frank Sinatra?
My Way. Yeah, it was the Sid Vicious Frank Sinatra. Usher just did a cover.
Okay. What?
You know I'm all about heat, and what I do be the major league. That's why your girlfriend's paging me. She know
That's why your girlfriend's paging me, Gary.
That's right. Number 3 is Crush by Jennifer Page. Do you think any?
Just a little crush, nothing every time we talk. Remember this?
Yeah.
Yeah, I heard that in the dining hall and whatnot.
Do you think like when she was like a big hit and she was in you know, hotels and stuff, maitre d's were like so happy to be like paging Jennifer Page.
We have a page for Jennifer Page.
That's right.
Yeah, probably. It's like their one joy.
That's right. You have a phone call in the lobby.
Because if you're at a fancy hotel, you're not allowed to have your cell phone, so they have to call the front desk, and then it's this whole line. You know, what's his name is pretending to be Pee Wee Herman with Farrah Fawcett or whatever. James Brolin. I don't remember who it was.
It was James Brolin, and it was Morgan Fairchild.
Morgan Fairchild.
Yes.
Yeah. That's another one of the early Tim Burtons that I've watched recently and fallen all in love with all over again. I think Pee Wee's Big Adventure is a masterpiece.
I agree. I wrote. We watched that recently too, and I wrote on my letterbox that it was like when I first watched Pee Wee's Big Adventure as an 8-year-old, I did not like it, but I can see that 8-year-old Gary was dumb for not liking it.
I mean, you probably just didn't exactly know how to get it, is what it was, right?
I don't know. I remember though being like, oh, that movie just it didn't sit with me. But then I've since then I was like, wow, no, this is great. It's great. So.
Oh man, it's so good. It's so funny. Anyway, that's not what we're talking about.
No.
We're talking about Usher. He's
no, we were talking about Jennifer
us.
Page. Yeah,
Jennifer Page getting paged by Usher.
That's right. Number 2 that week was The First Night by
girlfriend.
Monica. But Monica was on there twice.
Yeah, she was big. First Night, like, is that based on that Julia Ormond, Richard Gere movie?
Yeah, it is. So no, this is actually
the First Night. This is not I don't know that one, dude.
No. And then number 1,
you know that
a big Aerosmith hit, their biggest hit, and they probably hate it because they didn't write it. I Don't Want to Miss a Thing by Aerosmith.
Oh, I bet they don't hate it. I mean, that was the last time they were relevant, so I'm sure they're. That was the last time, don't you think?
No, because did they have anything after this? No, I guess that probably is the last time they were relevant. 100%.
So, I mean, they gotta love it. It's probably what they close their shows with now.
No, it's got to be Sweet Emotions. Or not Sweet Emotion, Dream On.
Dream On.
Yeah.
Yeah, I guess. I mean, they'd be fun to see probably, but I have my reservations about that guy.
I went and saw him back in the 90s, around the...
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, we have yet to do... I feel like you mentioned Fight Club earlier. I feel like Get a Grip is sort of like we're admitting to doing one of the seminal
yeah.
like 90s things or something. I don't know. But we haven't done it yet.
Right. Pump is their best album.
Is it? I think it's in the 80s. I think we've had this conversation on air.
It might have been 89.
Yeah. That's the only thing holding us back. Maybe there's like some reissue or something in the 90s we can review.
Right. So
we can always break the rules. Nobody's gonna. It's not actually against the law for us to review something from 1989. I mean,
I don't know, with the Republicans in charge, they might say we can't.
That's true. That's one of their first things is like they're gonna heavily legislate podcasting.
That's right.
And it's gonna be only you can just kiss Elon Musk's butt all day long if you want to have a podcast, but otherwise,
that's right.
You can't be on Twitter either. You gotta totally kiss the ring every day.
Why do
you think he bought that?
For the lulz.
What's his deal?
I don't know. So
do you think he's bored? I mean, it's like he's bored with space. Is that what it is? He's just like, yeah, space, whatever. Or he's like a short attention span. I don't know.
He just wants to be king at the
he's
tech
confusing
bros,
to me.
And so this is one way.
You think so? You think that's it? So it's like an inferiority complex or something?
Oh, definitely.
Yeah, he has to prove that he's a somebody by doing all this stuff.
Yeah.
I guess I don't really know much about his personality, so I'm just guessing. Anyway,
back to 1998.
That was what was burning up the charts. Was that was that number one?
Number one, I Don't Want to Miss a Thing by Aerosmith.
Oh, I Don't Want to Miss a Thing. Oh yeah, that was that summer was when Armageddon came out. I remember even at the time people were like, I mean, it's a summer movie.
That's right.
That's one of those movies that like nobody says they like now, but people must have liked it then.
Well, right.
It was so huge.
It's one of the movies that plays better on the big screen, and then when you get it off of the big screen and you watch it, you're like, this is dumb. This is a dumb movie. I got caught up in the spectacle, but this is dumb.
Yeah. I mean, that's my Michael Bay for you.
Yeah.
I don't know. I mean, obviously the guy can make something look good, and I felt like I really almost wanted to like that movie, The Island.
Well, that was the one that he was trying to, be, I guess, as less Michael Bay as possible.
Yeah, and I feel like, he doesn't need to be untamed. When he's a little more tamed and he's not in charge of, like, the quote-unquote story. I don't know, it's funny, like, basically the Transformers movies have given him freedom to, like, just completely disregard all narrative. Like, just whatever he wants to do, it's just a bunch of metal.
Right.
He's an abstract painter at this point. Anyway, we're going to talk about Hootie and the Blowfish, who are noticeably not on this top 10, right?
That's right.
That's kind of the story of this stage of the Hoots' career, even though it doesn't seem pretty far away, like in time now, to say 1998 was late for the Hoots. It kind of was. So, Gary, I'm going to introduce Musical Chairs, the third Hootie and the Blowfish album, by asking you two questions. The second one will be an either or, but I need to know the answer to the first one in order to know what the second answer means, okay? You don't have to even understand what I'm saying. Just answer these two questions, okay?
Okay.
So, number one, if you were to just sort of guess out of random thin air, do you remember what out of 4 stars you gave Cracked Rear View, or you would probably give Cracked Rear View right now?
No, I don't remember. But if you,
Well, this is the album with, just do your best gut feeling.
I could give it 3 out of 4, I think.
Probably give it 3 out of 4. Okay. So that's good to know. And then the either or is either you would give Musical Chairs this is pretty much as good. This is I understand, same band. Or you'd be like, I don't know. I kind of understand why this wasn't as big.
I think that's.
Or more simply put, do you like it more or less than Cracked Rear View?
So Well, I think that's also complicated more or less than too, because I guess I would say I like this less than Cracked Rear View, just because. Well, so Cracked Rear View is a hard one to say because like some of those songs became so. I think Hold My Hand I still enjoy, but Only Want to Be With You is probably overplayed for me. That I don't really want to hear that anymore. But and then Let Her Cry is still kind of like that one I still like. And
yeah, but it is important to recognize that that one also was just as overplayed as Only Want to Be With You. I posit that Only Want to Be With You is not a very good song at baseline, and it was overplayed, so it was really the kiss of death.
Yeah.
That song.
So
it's like a goofy like album cut in my mind. Like it's not. I like it when the Hoots gets dramatic. You know.
Okay.
I want my Hootsy.
Well, and there's some dramatic songs on this one.
But you have not answered the either or yet, right? You haven't really answered.
Musical Chairs is, I guess, listening to I never listened to Musical Chairs before. This is my first time listening to it. I did listen to Cracked Review, and it was fine. I came away thinking like, yeah, that's Hootie and the Blowfish. It sounds like Hootie and the Blowfish. It's music that's mostly I don't have a problem with. The guitar, drums, and bass is music that it's usually stuff that I like. That's up in my wheelhouse, and yeah, it was fine. It was a fine album, 2.5 stars. So
I had gone to see Hootie and the Blowfish. They were touring on the second album, the one with Tucker's Town on it. I keep forgetting what the name of that album is. It's like Looking Out for Wilson, or I don't know, something like that.
Mr. Wilson.
No,
Freedom Johnson.
Freedom Johnson, yeah.
No, Fairweather Johnson.
Fairweather, yeah. Freedom Johnson would have been like too easy to make dirty jokes about.
Yeah.
Fairweather Johnson, yeah. I can't imagine why I can't remember that stupid name. Anyway, that was the name of their second album, and I did like some of the tracks on that album, but I felt like it was pretty weak in general. But I loved Cracked Review Cracked Review, even though even I was like, okay, sometimes there can be too much Hootie,
Right.
But, whenever I go back to some of those songs, especially the ones that weren't played very much, like Hannah Jane, the album opener on that album, I just love it. It's fun. It's good stuff. I like this kind of music. So I had this album. I got it as I think a present or something, but or maybe I just got it for myself. I mean, I did like Hootie and the Blowfish, and people knew that. And so I did listen to it. I did feel like there was some of the je ne sais quoi missing from this album, and it's hard to exactly express, but there's no Let Her Cry on here,
Well, right. And I think, Hootie, so Cracked Rear View was a huge hit. They came out of the gate, and they had this huge hit. They were a cultural phenomenon. They're on Friends. They're on, I think they had, I guess, there was definitely an episode where the Friends go to Hootie and the Blowfish. I don't know if they actually...
No, I think they were just trying to get to a Hootie and the Blowfish concert. I don't think they're actually on.
No, okay.
But I don't know that actually. But yeah, they were too big, right? Is that what you were gonna say?
For their first album, definitely, and that can definitely mess with a band to where you're kind of chasing that, or at the same time, maybe that's always in the back of your head, like on everything that you do, right? It's like, oh man, we were huge. So yeah, I think.
Although, at some point, even if you're huge, that is the fate of like every musical artist that is there's just not room in the cultural zeitgeist for everybody to stay there, It doesn't mean that they get worse always.
No, exactly.
It's like John Grisham books are still probably pretty entertaining, but it's not like anybody talks about them.
Right. And so yeah, this sounds for the most part like, more Hootie and the Blowfish. There's one song, like Michelle Post is a song that I really like. So that song has a real prominent banjo. Yeah.
That's sort of the main sort of music that we hear, the first instrument and everything, and that's pretty country. There's actually quite a few songs on here where they went from country fried rock to country.
They did,
and
definitely.
You can kind of hear Darius Rucker's future career on a couple of these songs.
Right. Yeah, there definitely were some more country ones. I couldn't help but laughing from the lyrics on One by One, where he kept singing "We came together." I still laugh.
You're such a child.
That's right.
I really like the first track on this album, I Will Wait. I think that's the closest to the sort of really dramatic, really honest sort of, I feel like Let Her Cry and this, and it just feels like real. Whereas like the Only Lonely, which was the first single on this album, and also featured in the Message in a Bottle soundtrack featuring Kevin Costner, Paul Newman, and Robin Wright. That feels kind of generic, like they were trying for a big hit or something, but less like feeling like, I don't know, it just doesn't, it feels kind of corporate or something. It's got way too much orchestra. I mean, this is a bar band. We don't need an orchestra.
That's right.
It's a bar band. They were playing in like Carolinas or whatever, and they in bars. That's this band. Like now if you go to their Spotify page, they've got like commemorative bucket hats, and I'm like, yeah, commemorative bucket hat, not orchestra.
Right. Yes.
Anyway, I like Michelle Post. I Will Wait. I like Wishing a little bit. That's the second song on there. Answer Man is pretty catchy. They do a lot of that the non-Hootie singers sing the chorus like as a chorus, like it sounds like three people singing the chorus,
Yeah.
and then it's sort of call and response between Hootie and his Blowfish.
Right.
This has got a pretty catchy. Anyway, I like that song.
Right.
I like a lot of this. I don't love that much of it.
Right. That's where I was.
There's only a couple like skippers. I would say there's a couple skippers on there, but the amount of people.
Mountain, what was that? Well, that was a real country. Like, Desert Mountain Showdown. Was that a real country song? That was one of the, or was it a different one that I'm thinking of? There was a later track that was like, oh, this is just like full on
this is Desert Mountain. Yeah. That's country music.
This is
I feel like that's something. Somebody heard that and they were like, I have an idea.
What's the idea?
We'll make him into a country star.
Oh, I see.
Solo country star.
They're from the South Carolina, so they're.
It's. I'm not saying he shouldn't be a country star. I'm just saying that's what happened to his career.
Right.
It was not a huge hit. It wasn't really in the zeitgeist. I think it was generally favorably reviewed. But the U.S. Billboard did go up to number 4. I would imagine kind of early, but in other countries not so much. Just not a huge hit. It was they peaked so early.
Yeah, right.
But this is not bad stuff. It's just people just didn't want any more of it, I guess.
Right. I mean, and
people were like, that's enough Hootie and the Blowfish, for God's sakes.
Well, and I think something that their signature sound is definitely Darius Rucker's voice. It kind of comes through, and it's a distinctive voice, and I can see people being like, "Oh yeah, I don't like that voice." Like, I don't have a problem with the way he sings or the way he sounds, but I could see where people would be like, "Oh, I don't like it," and maybe they, it definitely got over. We overheard it. The collective we overheard Darius Rucker's voice.
Yeah, we all did. We all were in that collective trauma of 1995 and 6, where you really couldn't go to the bathroom anywhere, or get some milk, or get a Slurpee, gas up your car. It's not going to happen without hearing a Hootie and the Blowfish song. There's
Let It Cry would play, and then maybe you'd hear Run Around, but then right after that, Only Want to Be With You.
Right. And then a commercial or two, and then Let Her Cry.
Exactly. And then it's like, well, and here's one.
And then I
around
don't
again.
want to miss a thing.
Yeah, there you
But
go.
you forgot. Yeah, I mean that was then. But the summer of '98, I'm just remembering. Don't want to miss a thing was on the radio, as was a lot of Matchbox 20.
Oh yeah, right.
It was that 3 a.m. song that was on everywhere all the time. Oh goodness, Matchbox 20. I don't know. What were we thinking?
Some people like that Rob Thomas.
Do they?
I do.
I don't know any of them.
No,
Anyway,
okay.
so I mean, it's good. I think it's a good album. I think it suffers from the problems we've talked about. Just sort of it is the thing that a lot of people got tired of, essentially. But that's what they have to offer. I mean, they're a bar band that sounds like this. I don't know.
Yeah, exactly.
I think they're lots of fun, and I envision some sort of alternate universe where they never got that huge, and everybody kind of thinks about them fondly, because I think that is also a possibility. It's just not what happened.
No, I think they had they also had the unfortunate of choosing a bad band name, Hootie and the Blowfish, and but yeah, this.
I mean, yeah, but we still remember it this many years in advance. I mean, in the future, I don't know. Was it bad or was it good or was it both? I don't know.
I think probably a little both. But yeah, this is just solid rock and roll music, and they all know how to play their instruments well and everything like that, and their songs are
Like I
fine.
said, I saw him live at the Hearn Center at in Columbia, Missouri, 1996 in the fall. They sounded great. They were a really well practiced rock band. They sounded really good. It was fun, and they're dorks.
Right.
They were just so 1995 or 6. They were always wearing like cargo khakis and striped shirts. They're sort of dorky white guys. I don't know. I guess people realize they're like, oh, these guys aren't actually all that cool, and it's like, no, but they never really were.
Right.
I don't know. I guess I'm a Hootie defender, but
Right.
I think you're right. I think it was easier to hate on them with this band name too.
Right. So yeah, we can rate this album. We rate on stars, 1 star lowest, 4 star the greatest. I'm gonna give this 2.5 stars. Like I said, I wasn't, I think it's solid middle of the road. I definitely preferred listening to this than Celine Dion on our last episode. And
Amen, brother.
right. So 2.5 stars.
Yeah, I am gonna give it the old 3 stars. I like it more than you do, obviously.
That's just
But I
half a
liked it
star.
back in the day.
Just half a star.
Yeah,
more.
yeah. Well, I think there's some nostalgia for me as part of it.
Sure.
I think I had this. Was one of the albums that I could listen to up in Alaska that summer I was there. So it sort of reminds me of that. Back whenever you had to choose between your 10 albums or whatever to listen to on a trip.
Right. Yeah.
Oh man, those were different times.
Yes, they were.
But I had this on there, and I enjoyed. I listened to a lot of "I Will Wait" that summer. I like that song a lot. I don't know. I give 3 stars. I don't think I can give it more than that though. I think the nostalgia might carry me farther, but it's not that great an album. I think I wouldn't go so far as to say like everybody that stopped listening to them missed out on their best stuff or anything. It is very clearly that there's something going on that Cracked Rear View album that is not replicated here, not in full, not in its totality of Cracked Rear View-ness.
Right. Yeah, that was really
So
just
3
kind of
stars.
3 stars. Okay. Well, that was us talking about 1998 and Hootie and the Blowfish's third album, Musical Chairs. We're gonna take a break. You're welcome to take a break or don't. I don't care. Do what you want. When we come back, we're gonna talk about Afterlife from director Hirokazu Kore-eda.
Amazing, Gary.
Thanks.
What if there is an afterlife? What if, before you get to heaven, you go to a special place? A place where you choose one memory to take with you forever. What is the one memory you would choose? Would it be love's awakening? Or a tender farewell? Would it be a promise promise of youth or the reflection of age? Would it be a moment of beauty or the beauty of silence? Choosing a single memory could mean rediscovering your life. Artistic License Films proudly presents Afterlife.
Welcome back to my so-called podcast. You got yourself the trailer for 1998's Afterlife, where trailer guy is really going overboard and telling you the whole, not only the whole story, but also the point of the movie in the trailer. So I don't think we have to introduce the movie so much. It's about, a bunch of people that go have to figure out the best moment of their lives. But we probably shouldn't talk about that quite yet, should we, Gary?
No, Eric, we usually save that. We usually go ahead and talk about the movies that were out at the box office. This would have been the same time that Afterlife was playing at the Toronto International Film Festival. It actually came out.
I don't know if I took that.
It came out in April in Japan of 1998, so it's still a 1998 film, but we're a little far on the months. But
yeah, well, I mean, whatever. TIFF counts.
TIFF definitely counts. Judges. Yep, they're saying it
TIFF counts. So I was just in Toronto and I went to TIFF. I don't know if I told you that Bell Light Box Theater is down there downtown Toronto, and it's a really huge screen with really comfy seats, and I saw a Triangle of Sadness, the new dramedy from the director of Force Majeure and The Square, and it was great. I liked it a lot. If you're ever in Toronto, go to the Bell Light Box, get yourself some popcorn, have a good time.
All right, I will do that.
How Stella got her groove back was on the top 10. She got her groove back by lighting his car on fire. Spoiler alert.
No,
Number 10.
It was Tay Diggs that gave her groove back, and he can give anybody his groove back.
Tay Diggs got her groove back. I'm thinking of Waiting to Exhale. I don't know if that's sexist or racist or both. I'm sorry.
Yes.
Number 9, Armageddon, the aforementioned Harmageddon. It almost made $200 million at the box office at this point.
And this,
didn't? Number 8.
This was September. Armageddon came out in the summer. So
4th of July, yeah. Snake Eyes had been out for 6 weeks and made $50 million, but this week only $1.5 million. Number 8. Number 7, Knock Off, which had been out for 2 weeks, made $8 million. Gary, can you tell me anything about Knock Off?
No, I don't know what that one was. That movie's not ringing a bell at all. What is that one?
So it is a fashion designer must join forces with a CIA agent to combat terrorism, and I believe it's Jean-Claude Van Damme.
Oh, okay. I guess
never
the knockoff.
That.
The knockoff is maybe knockoff clothing.
I mean, I don't know. I don't think Knockoff is a very good name for a movie that you're trying to get people to spend money to see.
Not at all, no.
Number 6 is Ever After a Cinderella Story with what's her name, Drew Barrymore.
Yeah, that's right.
Number 5 is Simon Birch, which is the
Owen Meany.
I don't know, the 12% of Prayer for Owen Meany in weird order. I don't know, whatever.
Yeah.
Number 4, Saving Private Ryan. That also came out in the summertime. Also made almost $200 million. Also. Good movie. It's a good movie.
Unlike, I don't think when you say also a good movie, you're saying.
Yeah, you're right. Yeah, I know, you're right. That sentence lost track of itself. Yeah. Number 3, Blade. I did see Blade at the movie theater. It had been out for 4 weeks, made $56 million. This is the one that people don't remember. It's actually the first Marvel hit movie in the movie theaters of the whole sequence was Blade.
Because 1998, Spider-Man came out in 2001. I think X-Men was 2000 maybe, but this would have been the first.
Yeah, I think that's right. Yeah. So thanks, Blade. Rated R vampire slashing hit.
That's right.
Number 2, Build Me Up Buttercup, because there's something about Mary.
Oh, yeah.
which was in its ninth week, and the week before this it was number one. So that was a big hit, especially probably didn't cost anything to make.
No, right.
But it was a huge hit. I didn't care for that movie so much. I never have watched it again. So I don't know. I don't know about their humor, man.
Yeah. What's the Matt Damon and Greg Kinnear as twins?
Stuck on You.
Stuck on You.
Yeah.
I thought that one was kind of enjoyable, but other than that, I haven't really been a big Farley brothers.
I didn't like Dumb and Dumber that much, not like everybody else did, and
No.
I never saw Kingpin. Those are the ones that people say are good.
No, you're right. Yeah,
But
Kingpin's pretty funny too.
But Stuck on You is 2003. So if we're gonna do one, I guess I'll do Kingpin, right? Because I've never seen it. I do not want to watch There's Something About Mary. Again, I really don't. Anyway, number one is Rounders, which is the movie where all the tough guys play poker with each other, right? With the Russians and whatnot.
Yeah, that's right. Matt Damon? Is it Matt Damon in Rounders, or is it Ben Affleck?
It's Matt Damon and our friend Edward Norton.
Oh, yes, he is, right. Remember when we hung out with Edward Norton? He is our friend.
Yeah, he is our friend, right? Remember him?
Yep.
I've been listening to a lot of old You Must Remember This is This Eyes, and it really is striking how many people will just tell everything about their whole life and all their secrets in their memoir. So I'm looking forward to some of that. Like, I kind of want to know what Ed Norton was like on the set and stuff.
Oh, right. Yes.
I'm ready for some of these people to get the tell-all memoirs that I crave, so I see exactly what some of these people are like. Because I could see that guy being kind of a jerk or just cool. It's hard to say.
I think he probably has gone through both. I think he at one point Primal Fear, Ed Norton from Primal Fear. I came out of the box, I came out of the gate hot, but then he got kind of put in this place where it's like, yeah, you're not all that. And I think he's probably much more humble these days.
Yeah. And it's funny how in Birdman he plays that kind of narcissistic know-it-all actor character.
I think so that also tells me he has
some atonement.
And a little self-deprecation.
Yeah.
So.
He plays some pretty silly-ass characters in Wes Anderson movies, so.
That's right.
I think you're probably right. I think he probably in 1998 was pretty tough to swallow.
Yeah, yep, I would think so.
I don't know why I'm trying to swallow him. He's a human being. He's a full-grown human being.
You don't eat him. So.
I'm not like a vor or anything, Gary.
Oh, okay.
No big deal. I was just misusing a turn of phrase. That's all that's going on.
Okay.
Anyway, so should we talk about the movie that we're going to talk about?
Yeah.
Or you just want to keep talking about the Farrelly brothers?
We can talk about Afterlife.
Ed Norton.
From director Hirokazu Kore-eda. So this is a movie you suggested, Eric, and I've been trying to think of an either or for this whole podcast. And so the trailer did a good job of kind of breaking it down. So I don't even know what to. I kind of have an idea of what I kind of want to talk about with this movie, but I'm having a hard time putting it in an either or question. So.
Well, do you want to ask me any format of question? I want to go easy on you, buddy.
No, here, we'll go. I'm going to go with, so the Japanese title for this film is actually Beautiful Life, as opposed to
Wanda Furu, Reifu, yeah.
So either a more appropriate title is Afterlife or the original Japanese title, Beautiful Life. We'll start there, and then we'll get to where I want to go.
Oh, okay. I like it. See, you made it happen.
Yep.
I like Beautiful Life better. I think that's what this is about. And I think it. Afterlife is sort of like concretely what it's about, but Beautiful Life is sort of what the movie's actually about. I think.
Right. I think
so. I like that better. It's. I think a little bit. It might be a little more misleading than Afterlife is.
Wow, that's
description
true.
of the movie, which
like the movie movie starts out where, we just see some people coming into like an old office building or something like that, right? And then
they work there.
Right, they're the workers and they're getting ready, and somebody comes down and breaks down and says, well, great job last week, we sent so many people on, and you're kind of like, I think if it was just called Beautiful Life, you're still kind of like, what is kind of going on? But the fact that you go into the movie knowing Afterlife, it's kind of like, okay, I think I know where we are earlier.
Right,
than
and
maybe
it's not
the
a
film.
mystery. It's not a mystery box movie, so it's okay.
Right,
but it's not like the whole first half of it. You're kind of wondering if they're dead. They're dead.
They're dead, but I still
everybody's dead.
It happens though. I still think the filmmaker wanted the first maybe like 10 minutes to maybe not know, because you got this shot, and then people are filing in, and you are kind of like, wait, what's going on? But when it is called Afterlife,
it sort of looks like a bus station or the DMV or something.
Right. And then it's like, then they have this interview where it's like, okay, you have to come up with your memory. We're going to make that memory, and then you'll go off into eternity. And that's kind of like, okay, this is their... and then the movie, a big chunk of the film is just people talking to the camera, And I guess that's kind of what I wanted to get to. It's like, whether... I mean, their stories are good, but I guess from a filmmaking standpoint, it's almost like a documentary is what it reminded me of. And I don't know if it really works, I guess, is where I'm coming from.
Oh, okay. So you're wondering if the film works at all.
Well, no. I mean, it definitely works mostly, but I guess if it loses a little bit of it with just so much of it being people talking to the camera.
Yeah. Some of that is written and some of that is real. So you're not far off as far as saying it feels like a documentary. I mean, yes, it's a lot of talking at the camera, although it's not only talking at the camera.
No.
Sometimes things are dramatized. You see it, and then the therapists at the facility, they have to recreate it, and they do so very amateurishly.
Well, right, and that's actually where it kind of becomes like, so I guess the first 2/3 of the movie is basically people so these people who work there are trying to coax the recently deceased people. The guidebook for the recently diseased. No, the recently dead. That's
there's no guidebook in this. There's just these therapists, I guess, that are there to help you, to guide you to your best. I guess your best memory, is that what it's supposed to be?
I
guess
most
verbiage matters.
Well, I guess it's not your best, but it's like, I guess something your most, because like there's the one girl who's like, oh yeah, Disney World, I had such a fun time there, and you had the one counselor who was like, well,
oh, I see. They say you must choose. Go ahead. I'm sorry.
I was like, it's just the one counselor is talking to her after she says Disneyland. She's like, a lot of people. I had 30 people say Disneyland last week. Are you sure you want to do Disneyland? And
so what do you think of this conceit, Gary? This picking one memory for eternity. What's your take on that?
I like that. It was like it was a good idea to kind of maybe hang the film on, and I guess I applaud it that it's like, there's not much conflict. I get there's like the two.
Well, there's the one guy that won't choose.
Yeah, he's just not. Wait, are you talking about the younger guy who's like, I'm just not gonna choose?
Yeah, he's being an oppositional 20-something, but underneath that is the sadness of him being a dead 20-something, right?
Which plays into all the other counselors that we kind of just, throughout the film. That's something we kind of learn too. We don't know that right away, but we learn later in the film. It's like, oh, they're all people who decide not to choose. The counselors are the one, they're stuck there because they decide not to choose also. And so it's kind of like... Right,
which I did think was kind of a neat twist, to be honest. That part of it didn't occur to me. And the fact... So then and I honestly, I really like the way that the movie handles the sort of mythology here, because it's just like, if you don't pick something, you don't move on, but they don't explain it beyond that because you don't need to. It's supernatural, right?
That's right.
Like, if you don't pick something, you don't move on. And so it's important. This picking the one is so important to like be the final act that that you have to do to move on from your life, but then it's like very difficult for a lot of people. So I don't know. I mean, it's such a wonderful like thought experiment, at least.
Yeah. Well, right, and that's I like that. But then I guess back to the other kind of driving force of it is the old gentleman. His name was, I'm looking it up here, Watanabe. Ichiro Watanabe is an older gentleman who also doesn't know what he wants, what his is gonna be.
Right.
You know,
He sort of reminded me of About Schmidt.
Yeah, he's kind of he was grumpy.
Remember that movie?
Yeah.
He's kind of an About Schmidt. He lived his whole life and didn't think about the fact that he was alive, essentially.
That's right. And then we get kind of like his counselor is Takashi, and he also
a dashing young chap.
Yes, and at the same time, Takashi has a bit of an apprentice. He's training a young lady, Shiori, and then
see, there's this bittersweet portion of the movie for her, because she just seems like she's kind of irritable and irritating, and she can't handle anything, or she gets angry really easily, or whatever. But then it turns out like that's because she's young, and then as the movie goes along, you kind of think about it. It's like, 'cause she's young and dead, like she's angry, right?
Right. And 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 they kind of set theirs, where she comes to visit Takashi, and she's like, "You read so much. How are you able to read so much?" And he's like, what else are we gonna do? And she's like, he's like, "You should read." He's like, "Well, I'm gonna read the encyclopedia." And so we get those characters, and it kind of throughout the film, Takashi is helping Watanabe, and there was one point where he's like, I don't want to help him. I want to ask for a transfer, and the boss is like,
"Oh yes, correct.
Yeah, that's highly unusual. We don't do that." And
and at that point, what I thought, now that you mentioned this part of the movie, I was thinking to myself, his struggle, the guy he's helping him with is too much for him to handle. It feels too real, or it's overwhelming to him. This guy's empty life,
Well, right, and I think it's around that same time too. They have that conversation where he was like, I was born the same time as you. He's like, "Oh, but you're much younger. Did you die in the war?" And he's like, "Yeah, I died in the Philippines." And and then they get those videotapes, which is kind of like, wait, where did those, like, what's that?
I mean, that to me felt like almost like Michel Gondry kind of weird, or Charlie Kaufman-esque kind of. It's just so odd. Like,
it's really
they had to put
odd,
in, first of all, they had to put in a request, right?
That's right.
And then it had to be approved. And then once the request was approved, they got all these VHS videotapes that are like they're not branded or anything. It's just like some dubbed videotapes, and he can watch his whole life, or that whole year, right?
Right.
Because he's looking for this best memory. But like, I mean, even that is kind of an elegant kind of a, like, you're looking through all your old videotapes to figure out the best part of your life, like, but you can't do it that way, in a way. You know what I mean?
Right. And I actually, while I was...
You have to do it.
They watching these videotapes, and I was kind of like, well, what did they do before videotapes? And there's actually, like, they show it later where they're kind of going through film canisters. And I was like, well, okay, so they had film canisters before videotapes. But what did they do before then?
I felt like the movie did a great job of kind of avoiding questions like that, because they clearly aren't important
right.
to what they're getting at.
Yeah, it's not a big deal. It's not a real deal breaker. I
mean, yeah, the mythology is flawed, because none of it would make any sense. But I do think that, like, it's almost anxiety provoking for me to think about, like, needing to pick a one overpoweringly memory forever. Like, it definitely is an existential question that can be unsettling.
Sure.
Like, just because it really calls into question that there will be an end, and what would you think about? Like, it's, I guess, I mean, partially I feel like my way of thinking about it is that it would be too hard to pick between so many good things, I would hope.
Well, and then we can go back to some of some of the things was like there's an old lady talking about like a dress that her brother bought her.
She's adorable.
Yeah,
by the
she
way.
is. There's one lady. She was like a prostitute, and she talks about how a guy was nice to her at one time. Like that was his. Another guy's talking about
that's some sad memories there.
Yes, that one's bad. And then you got the one guy who's like it was kind of funny right away. He's like, "Oh, favorite memory? You know the guys are going to be talking about sex, right? Guys got to talk about sex every time they're having sex." And
oh, that's right.
Yeah.
And they'll cut away from him, and then they'll cut back to him, and he's just talking about some other kind of sex.
Yeah, exactly. I don't remember what his. I watched it a little late, and there was so much talking. I'm not exactly sure what he ended up on.
So he ended up with something that was non-sexual whatsoever. It was like something from when he was little or something, which I thought was really clever.
Yeah.
Even in death, you gotta brag, right?
That's
not really who you are.
And there was a guy who talked about flying his plane, which was kind of nice. I like that, where he was like, talking about the planes are up, the wings are up above the plane on the plane that he wanted. It's like, and that was
because if his memory was so clear, it had to be perfect, right? He couldn't look out, and if he looked out and saw wings, then it wouldn't be the same clouds he remembered from that first flight, which is, really sweet, I guess.
And that plays into that's a lot of the recreation, the plane one go to about.
Right, and then what they do is they go watch the recreation in a movie theater, and once they watch it in the movie theater, then they almost immediately disappear and move on. So I mean, it's also, I suppose, a commentary on cinema as trying to capture something maybe that is not possible to capture. It's like a rudimentary version of it, but it also is transporting, you could say. I just came up with that just now. Please don't hate on me. Okay. Send all of your complaints to Gary Linton at mysocalledpodcast.org.
Okay.
123 Fake Street.
That's right.
But you know what I mean? Like, there's something kind of whimsical going on there, but not beating you over the head with it whimsical. And then were you going to spoily who everybody is at the end?
Right. So, okay. What we discover, and so like the main conflict is again the three characters about the old man Watanabe who can't choose, and then his counselor Takashi and Shiori, and so
and his trainee, right, is a big part of it too.
Yeah,
who's a young girl, and she's very much still wanting to be alive, and as such, once it turns out there's a little bit of romance in her mind that she would like him to stay there with her and have a romance, right?
Right.
But that's not to be in this world.
Right. We discover that the old man Watanabe, he had an arranged marriage with a woman, and he was like, we were fine. It was a fine, like, he kind of came out saying that his marriage was fine, and that was it. But then he watches these tapes, and he's kind of like, no, it was actually, I did love her very, very much, and she loved me, and we went and saw a movie together, and that's really kind of what we love. I love that about. And but his arranged wife was in love with Takashi before he died in the war. So
and she picked him for her memory.
That's right, and that's what comes out is she picked Takashi for her memory when she passed away earlier, and so the end is Takashi is like, I think I can move on now. I have a great memory, and it's his memory though is kind of like learning that she picked him.
Right.
It's him sitting on that park bench in the afterlife, and like the boss is like, well, it's kind of against the rules, but for you, we'll bend them. And
there's nothing in the rule book that says a dog can't play basketball. basketball.
But it's like, he's like, there is the rule book, but I'm going to look past it.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah. I mean, yes. So, but like to me, it seems like that's what they're sort of insinuating that they're there for, right? Is to create that memory,
Right.
because they haven't created it yet, and then it makes it feel like somewhat purgatory adjacent. But you could also argue that it is just simply an afterlife where they have to. That's what life is, right? So, like, it's what's happening to us right now, I guess, is the idea. It's like,
Right. Oh, right.
what do you,
Right.
how if you can't come up with anything, then you got to do something.
Right, to come up with something, yes. And
Right, it's up to you to make that memory, is I guess what it is, but it's not quite that explicit, and it's much more poetic, I thought.
right. And the movie,
I liked it. It would be difficult if you were sleepy, I have to admit. I watched it early in the evening.
yes.
When I was up there in Toronto, I watched a lot of movies, and sometimes like 6:30, and you're starting a movie, and you're like, hey, if I start a movie now, I could maybe watch two, baby.
Right,
Because
yeah.
nobody else is here.
That's the life.
I get pretty decadent, Gary.
Sure, I can imagine. So I did watch it
I
kind
know
of
how
late.
to have a good time. That's how I got my groove back.
Yeah,
Tay Diggs was there.
Well, Tay Diggs is going to give anybody this groove back. So
I imagine so. Yeah, so I mean, I wouldn't recommend you watch it late, listeners.
No.
But I'm not going to say that like this is Gary's wrong. I mean, I do think it's kind of slow. I think there's a lot of talking, but I think that like for me, it ended up feeling more like a poetic kind of a rhythm, and I enjoy. I mean, I had just watched a couple of documentaries, and I guess maybe I was in the mood a little bit for these sort of stories that felt so real, because a lot of them are, but they're just so vivid and interesting. The woman that goes to the dance, with her brother, and you don't even know how old she was at this dance to begin with. It turns out she's actually quite young in
That's
the
right.
dance.
Yes.
And it was like kid dance. I don't know. I guess I thought also about my children while watching it. I think sometimes as adults you might have this idea that like, oh, I don't know what life is really like,
right.
But like it's possible that like best memory of your whole life might be when you're a kid. So it's like pretty darn important. I don't know.
Right. It gave me a whole, like, as I was watching it, and because they're talking right at the camera, like it's like they're across from a desk and the cameras and they're talking, it kind of gave me a whole like a fog of war sense of people talking right at the camera. So
yeah, I mean, it does make it a little more disconcerting when it feels like a documentary, but the subjects are supposed to be dead.
Yeah.
And they're speaking to you from the afterlife. I mean, and there's actually nothing eerie about this movie, we should say. Although these are technically ghosts, and I know those are spooky to you,
That's right.
Gary.
I had a pillow over one eye the whole time.
Yep, you were just kept waiting for like them to get their googly eyes out, or
That's right.
like get under a sheet, for example. If they get under a sheet, you can kind of see that they're there, I guess,
Right,
is what the sheet thing is.
Yeah, exactly. But then there's like no feet. That's another Beetlejuice reference.
So you would say you prefer Beetlejuice to Afterlife? Is that what you're saying?
I mean,
Because there's no shade here. I mean, I also think Beetlejuice is great. We were talking about Pee-wee's Big Adventure earlier. It's great. Beetlejuice, great. Early Tim Burton, great. He's definitely jumped the shark, though.
Yes, yeah, yeah.
But Afterlife, I liked a lot. I'll give it 4 stars. I liked it quite a bit.
I liked it a lot.
Singular in tone, and also execution, and made me think about existential stuff, which I'm a total sucker for. So I like it. 4 stars.
Yeah, I'm gonna give it 3 stars. I liked it a lot too. It's a very original movie, and I guess I don't know. It's a very good movie. I don't know if I have any way to say, oh, this is what it needed to be better, because I don't know. But there's just something.
That being said, you could imagine that like some people would watch this and be like, well, I hated that.
Yes.
Like it's not going to be everybody's cup of tea for sure.
No.
I think that's clear. It's not quite as divisive as like a P.T. Anderson kind of you either do or don't like that kind of stuff.
Right.
But this, your tolerance for sort of slow and poetic movies that don't have like, big dramatic reveals. Even the dramatic reveals are not really even played for that.
No, yeah, they're real. Like the stakes are just, even though I guess because everybody's already dead, the stakes are so like low key because it's kind of like, oh, even the one guy's like, well, I'm not going to go, and it's like, oh, well, then you're just gonna stay here and work. Then, that's what you have to do.
Right.
So
right. Well, I mean, there's a really nice scene, I think, that sort of tells you about the stakes, which are, they're different in this universe because the first thing that one of the guys asks is like, so this is where everybody goes?
That's right.
And he's like, yep, everybody. And he's like, everybody? And he's like, yeah. He's like, whether we're good or bad or whatever. And he's like, yep.
Yeah.
That's it.
He said that.
And
he's
it
like,
does
so that
change
whole,
the way.
The whole good and bad was just BS then, huh? And he's kind of like, yeah.
I love it. It's like, nope, you're moving on. It's not that at all. Which, it's like funny. We do kind of take it for granted that like some of the concepts we've sort of mythologized as the afterlife would be that way. I mean, it's not, I don't know. I like that. So it's not whether you're good or bad or did you do the right things. It's what do you want to think about forever?
That's right.
And if you can't think of anything, like that is, I think I could imagine people being like, this is a bit much for, a night out at the movies. But I enjoy the sort of thing. It's a good movie. It's a nice find. Sometimes I'll sort my just watch list by IMDb score, for example, and it'll be stuff I've never even heard of before, but I'll give it a try on the old Criterion. It didn't let me down this time. I enjoyed it.
All right.
Check it out. I recommend it.
Yeah, I would recommend it too. That's been another episode of My So-Called Podcast. I've been Gary Linton.
Oh, and I've been Eric Spiegel. Thanks for listening, everybody.
Bye.
Bye.